The wind howled through the desolate plains of Montana as the last orange rays of sunset bled across the sky. A lone rancher named Cole Tanner rode through the valley, his hat pulled low, his eyes shadowed with the weariness of a man who'd lost too much. The land stretched endlessly around him, the only home he had left after years of fighting to keep it from men who'd rather see it burn than belong to someone with a conscience. Cole wasn't a man of many words, but behind that rough exterior lived a heart that still remembered kindness, though it had been buried under layers of pain and regret. He'd buried his wife 3 winters ago, and since then, he'd spoken more to his horse than to people. But that evening, fate had different plans for him. He was riding back from the far ridge when he spotted something unusual in the ravine. A flicker of movement, small and desperate. He dismounted, his boots crunching against the frost-bitten ground as he approached. What he saw froze him in place. A little girl, no older than 7, clutching another child in her arms. A girl, maybe 14, unconscious and pale. The younger one's eyes were wide, scared, and yet strangely brave. "Please," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Please help her." "She hasn't moved for hours." Cole crouched down, his rough hands gentle as he checked the older girl's pulse. She was alive, but barely. The cold had taken its toll. "What happened to you two?" he asked softly. The little one's lips quivered as tears welled up. "They said they'd take us if Mama couldn't pay the rent. Mama ran with us, but they caught her. They hit her. She told us to keep running." Cole felt a storm rise inside him. He'd seen cruelty before, but hearing it from a child's mouth made his blood run hot. He didn't hesitate. He lifted the older girl into his arms and motioned for the younger to follow. "We're going home," he said simply. The little one looked up at him unsure. Are you going to take her instead of me?" she whispered. Cole stopped in his tracks. That question, innocent yet soaked in sorrow, cut through him deeper than any knife ever could. He looked at her, this fragile child who was willing to sacrifice herself for someone else, and something inside him cracked open. Without a word, he reached down, lifted her into his other arm, and held both girls close. "I'm taking both," he said quietly, the words firm, almost like a vow. Back at the ranch, the fire roared to life as Cole wrapped them in thick blankets. The older girl, Emma, stirred awake after a while, her eyes fluttering open in confusion. "Where are we?" she whispered weakly. "Safe," Cole answered. "You're safe now." The younger one, Lily, clung to his arm like she was afraid he'd vanish if she blinked. She told him bits and pieces of their story between sobs, how their mother had worked for a cruel land baron named Reed Lawson, who used debt as a weapon, taking from families who had nothing left to give. When she couldn't pay, he'd sent his men to collect payment in other ways. Cole had heard of Lawson before, the kind of man who built his empire on others' misery. And now he'd hurt children. That thought set a fire inside Cole's chest that no storm could put out. Days passed. Cole nursed Emma back to health and fed them both, doing his best to keep his emotions buried, but Lily's laughter, soft and pure, began to thaw something in him. She'd follow him around the ranch, trying to help feed the horses, asking endless questions about everything. "Do you have kids?" she asked one morning. Cole froze. "Used to," he murmured. Lily's eyes softened. "What happened?" He stared out at the horizon, his voice low. "Fever took her. And her mama. Long time ago." Lily didn't say a word, but she quietly slipped her small hand into his. That silent gesture broke him. That night, for the first time in years, Cole prayed. Not for himself, but for the strength to protect those girls no matter what came next. But peace doesn't last long in a world ruled by greed. A week later, a group of riders appeared on the ridge. Reed Lawson's men. Cole knew trouble the moment he saw their black coats and smug faces. Their leader, a slick man named Crane, dismounted and called out, "You've got something that belongs to Mr. Lawson. 2 girls. Hand 'em over, Tanner, and we'll forget we saw you." Cole stepped onto the porch, shotgun in hand. "You tell Lawson these girls aren't property," he said coldly. "And if he wants to argue that, he can come down here himself." Crane smirked. "You think you can stand against Lawson? He owns half this valley." Cole's voice was like gravel. "Then he'll have to bury half the valley to take them." The standoff lasted seconds before gunfire erupted. Cole ducked behind the fence, his rifle blazing. He wasn't shooting to kill, not yet, but to warn. When the smoke cleared, the men retreated, cursing, vowing to return with more. Cole turned to find Lily hiding behind the water trough, shaking. He knelt beside her, his voice gentle but firm. "You're safe, you hear me? No one's taking you or your sister." She nodded, wiping her tears. But Cole knew this wasn't over. That night he made a choice. He packed supplies, saddled his horse, and carried the girls into the dark. They rode for hours through the cold night air until they reached the old mining town on the other side of the hills, a place where the law was thin, but loyalty ran deep. There, Cole found his old friend, Sheriff McBride, a man who'd once fought beside him in the war. "I need your help," Cole said simply. McBride looked at the girls, then at Cole. "You finally found something worth fighting for again," he said with a knowing smile. Cole nodded. "I'm not losing them too." With McBride's help, Cole filed papers claiming guardianship, protecting the girls legally from Lawson's claim. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Days turned into weeks, and slowly the ranch became a home again. Emma regained her strength and started helping with the animals. Lily's laughter echoed across the fields like sunshine breaking through clouds. Cole, once a man haunted by ghosts, now found peace in the smallest things. A shared meal, a smile, a quiet evening by the fire. One afternoon, Lily climbed into his lap and said softly, "When you found us, I thought you were going to take her instead of me." Cole smiled faintly, his eyes misting over. "Sometimes, sweetheart, life gives you a choice, and sometimes it gives you a chance to make things right." She looked up at him curiously. "So, you took both?" He nodded. "I took both, and because you both needed saving. And maybe, so did I." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky gold and crimson, Cole Tanner, once a broken rancher, found himself whole again. He'd lost everything once, but now he'd gained something far greater. A family he never saw coming and a reason to live. The ranch, once silent and cold, now echoed with laughter, love, and the promise of second chances. And out there under the vast western sky, he finally realized that sometimes the greatest act of strength isn't in drawing a gun. It's in opening your heart to those who need it most. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful and emotional stories like this. Every story is a reminder that kindness still exists, that love can heal, and that even in the darkest corners of life, there's always hope waiting to be found.